My wife deleted my mom's voicemails. After she passed away, so I took my inheritance, divorced her quietly, and left her with an empty house. I'm a 34-year-old guy, and my mom was my world. I don't say that lightly. We talked every single day, sometimes twice. She was the one person who never judged me, never rushed me, never made me feel small, even when I messed up. Especially then. Her voice, it was comfort. Steady, soft, a little raspy from years of smoking, but somehow still the most calming sound I've ever known. So I saved her voicemails, every one. Silly updates, check-ins after job interviews, reminders to take my vitamins. I had a folder just for them. Dozens of them. It was like my own archive of safety. My wife never understood that bond. From early on, she'd sigh when I mentioned talking to Mom again. She babies you, she'd mutter. It's like you're still 15. I'd laugh it off at first. Tell her it wasn't about babying, it was about being seen. But the jokes turned sharp. You need to cut the cord, she snapped once, during a fight over nothing. I remember how cold her eyes were. Like love was a competition. She hated that someone else still had my heart. But even then, I thought she just didn't get it. I thought maybe she didn't grow up with that kind of relationship, so it made her uncomfortable. So I made space for both of them, my mom and my wife. I never wanted anyone to feel second. But now looking back, she always did. When my mom got diagnosed, stage 4 ovarian cancer, I broke. Slowly, painfully. But my wife, she just got quieter. More distant, less patient. Like my grief was an inconvenience she couldn't schedule around. The colder she got, the closer I clung to those voicemails, because I knew one day they'd be all I had left, and I had no idea just how soon that day would come. When my mum passed, I didn't cry right away. It was like my brain couldn't catch up to what my heart already knew. I stared at my phone that night, waiting for it to ring, waiting for her name to light up the screen. But it didn't. It never would again. And that silence, that crushing, suffocating silence, was louder than any scream I could have let out. I barely ate. I didn't sleep. I kept opening that voicemail folder just to hear her say, "Love you, baby," one more time. And every time I did, it felt like someone was driving a nail straight through my chest. My wife? She was calm, too calm. She didn't cry at the funeral. Didn't hold my hand when I broke down in the car afterward. When we got home, she kicked off her heels, poured herself a glass of wine and said, "Well, at least you won't be glued to your phone every evening anymore." I remember staring at her like she'd slapped me. "Excuse me?" I asked. She didn't even blink. You used to ignore me every night for her calls. It was like you were married to her, not me. That's when something cracked inside me. Not from grief. This was different. It was colder. Like my soul took a step back and looked at her for the first time. Really looked. I tried explaining how my mom was my anchor, how I felt like a part of me had died too. She rolled her eyes. "God, you're so dramatic sometimes. You need to toughen up." Dramatic. That's what she called it. Not mourning, not loss, just drama. I stopped talking after that. About my mom. About anything real. Because I realized something awful. My grief wasn't safe with her. And I was starting to wonder what else wasn't. It was about 2 weeks after the funeral when I reached for her voice. I was sitting alone in the bedroom, blinds half closed, that thick kind of afternoon where light just hangs in the air. My chest was heavy again like it always was those days, and I thought, just one message. Just hear her say hi once. It was my comfort blanket, my ritual. So I opened the folder in my phone, the one I'd guarded like it held oxygen, and it was empty. 43 voicemails. Gone. At first, I thought I tapped the wrong folder. I backed out, went to my cloud account, my backups, my trash bin. Nothing. Every one of them had vanished. I started sweating. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely type. I checked the auto sync, the device logs. It didn't make sense. I hadn't touched anything. I called out, loud, without thinking. "Where are my voicemails?" She walked in, drying her hands with a dish towel, like it was just another Thursday.
"I deleted them," she said, so casually I thought I'd misheard.
It's not healthy to obsess over stuff like that.
"I thought it'd help you move on. I just—"
Stared at her. My brain couldn't catch up. My mom had been dead for 2 weeks.
Her voice was all I had left, and this woman, my wife, had erased it without asking.
Without a warning.
Like it was clutter. Are you serious?
I choked out. She tilted her head, shrugged. You need to stop living in the past.
It's not good for our marriage. I don't remember what I said next.
Or if I said anything at all. My ears were ringing. My throat burned like I'd swallowed fire.
I walked out of the room because if I didn't, I might have broken something or someone. That night I sat on the floor of the guest room,
staring at the wall in the dark, and for the first time since Mom died,
I didn't cry, I didn't scream, didn't throw my phone.
Didn't ask her how she could be so cruel. I just stood up, walked out of the room, and shut the door behind me like I was closing a book I'd never open again. That night,
I slept on the couch the next night too, after a while.
She stopped asking when I'd come back to the bedroom. Maybe she thought it was just grief.
That I needed space.
That I'd snap out of it. Everyone else seemed to think so. Her voice softened when people called. He's really going through it, she'd say, all sympathetic, like she was some concerned spouse carrying the weight of my breakdown. But I wasn't breaking down, I was waking up. At night, when the house was quiet and the TV flashed shadows across the ceiling, I'd write in an old spiral notebook from college. It started as scribbles, just thoughts I couldn't say out loud, ugly, raw, sometimes terrifying thoughts. But then the words started forming patterns, angles, memory maps. I'd flip back and reread things she'd said, things she'd done, and the timeline started to come together in ways it hadn't before. She didn't just delete voicemails. She erased parts of me, little things came back. The time she rolled her eyes when I called Mum from the hospital waiting room. The way she once called my grief clingy. The way she joked to her sister that I was emotionally needy like a woman. I used to excuse it.
Laugh along. But now, it made me sick. I wasn't just grieving my mom anymore. I was grieving the version of love I thought I had. And somewhere between those late-night journal entries and silent couch nights,
something inside me shifted. I didn't know it yet, but I wasn't going to be the one breaking this time. She was. Once the numbness wore off, everything started to sharpen, like my brain was adjusting to a new prescription, and suddenly I could see all the cracks I'd ignored for years. It wasn't just the voicemails, it was the way she used to scoff when I got excited about work, even after I landed that promotion.
It's just middle management, she'd mutter.
Don't act like you're curing cancer. It was how she rolled her eyes whenever I'd FaceTime my sister, muting the TV dramatically like she was doing me a favor. It was how, when my mum was going through chemo and I'd spend hours researching treatments, she once said, "You know she's not going to make it, right? Why torture yourself?" I told myself she was being realistic, that she just had a different way of showing support. But no, she didn't support me. She minimized me. She chipped away at the softest parts of me and called it tough love. Over time, I stopped inviting friends over, stopped mentioning family visits.
I didn't even realize it had happened until one night I scrolled through my contacts and realized I hadn't spoken to my college friends in months. Years, maybe.
She didn't ban me from them. She just made it uncomfortable, awkward, like I had to pick between peace and connection, and I picked peace.
Only it wasn't peace.
It was silence, isolation, disconnection dressed up as stability. Now that I was looking at our life through a different lens, it all felt
fake, like I'd been background noise in my own marriage.
A character she tolerated, not a partner she loved. I didn't confront.
Her not yet, but I started reading about divorce laws in my state. I started moving money. I started imagining a life where I wasn't
shrinking to keep someone else comfortable, and for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel afraid. I felt awake. The call came on a Tuesday morning. Grey sky, cold coffee, same couch I'd been sleeping on for weeks. I almost didn't pick up. Figured it was another extended family member calling to check in, but it wasn't. It was the lawyer handling my mom's estate. Her will had cleared probate. Everything was finalized. I sat there, barely breathing as he explained it. She'd left me $380,000 from her savings and retirement. And the house, her little blue cottage by the lake, the one she always said would be mine when the time came. I didn't cry.
I didn't speak.
I just closed my eyes and listened to his voice like it was one last message from her. When I told my wife later that night, something changed in her face. Subtle, but sharp. Her eyes lit up in a way they hadn't since the funeral. "Wow," she said, drawing the word out like honey.
That's huge. I mean, we could finally renovate this place. Or maybe flip it and move into something bigger.
I didn't answer. She leaned in, voice softer now. We could invest some of it, maybe even start that business I always talked about.
We'd be set.
The woman who had barely spoken to me in days, who had deleted my mother's voice like it was digital trash. Now suddenly she was talking about joint investments and long-term plans. She asked if the house was in both our names, if the funds were going into our shared account.
I just said, not yet.
It's complicated, and that was the truth, just not the whole truth, because in that moment, as I watched her eyes flicker with calculation instead of empathy,
I knew exactly what I was going to do. This wasn't just grief.
Anymore. It was war. I became the man she wanted. Again. Sweet, attentive, present. I booked a dinner reservation at her favorite place, white tablecloths, overpriced cocktails, the kind of spot where she could wear heels and post photos, pretending we were the she goals. I let her pick out a new dress, told her we needed a fresh start, that maybe losing Mum had made me push her away, and I didn't want to lose us too. She smiled, all forgiveness and fake vulnerability, slid her hand across the table, whispered, "I missed you." I said I missed her too. I didn't, but I needed her to believe I did. Over the next few weeks, I leaned into it, suggested a home makeover, her style, her colors, her Pinterest board. I asked her to dream big. She showed me swatches and curtain samples with this glow, like we were newlyweds again. She talked about making the guest room into a home office. I nodded, said we'd make it perfect. What she didn't know was that every time she left for work or yoga or a lunch date,
I was doing the real remodeling. I opened a new checking account. Under my name only, I moved 80% of the inheritance. I hired a real estate lawyer to put my mom's house into a
trust she couldn't touch. I spoke to a divorce attorney twice a week. And then I booked a moving company, one that specializes in fast, discreet relocations. They called it a quiet exit. I called it freedom. She thought we were
rebuilding. She thought the inheritance brought us closer. She thought the new furniture was for us. She had no idea I was
redecorating her goodbye, and
I was just getting started. It happened by accident. I was updating her
laptop. She'd been complaining it was running slow. She handed it to me mid-conversation, distracted, sipping wine and scrolling her phone. I told her I'd run the update later that night once she went to bed. When I opened it, I wasn't snooping. Not at first, but her messages were still open. Facebook, a chat with her best friend, Clara. The last message was bold, unread. From a few weeks ago, he's finally starting to act normal again.
Told you the inheritance would wake him up. My stomach flipped. I scrolled up, heart pounding, and then I saw it. I deleted those messages on purpose. Mommy's boy needs to grow up. And worse? Once he breaks, I'll finally get the life I want. I stared at those words for what felt like hours. My hands clenched the armrest so tight I thought I might break the wood. It wasn't just spite. It wasn't heat-of-the-moment cruelty. It was intentional, planned, shared, laughed about. She wanted to break me, not comfort me, not help me grieve, not walk with me through the hardest loss of my life. She wanted to shatter me so she could rebuild a version of me that fit her life. Tears burned behind my eyes. But they didn't fall, because something inside me flipped that night. The grief had been heavy,
But this was surgical, precise, and it made everything crystal clear. This woman wasn't confused, she wasn't cold, she was calculated. I closed the laptop. Didn't say a word. She thought she had time. She thought she had control, but I was already gone, and very, very soon, so would she be. She had a salon appointment at 11:30, color, cut and blowout, 3 hours minimum. She kissed me on the cheek before leaving, wearing that smug little smile like we were newly in love again. "Don't forget to measure the hallway for the new console table," she chirped. I nodded, kissed her back, and even held the door. At 11:35 the movers pulled up. 2 trucks, 4 men. I paid extra for speed and silence. No uniforms, no company logos, just plain clothes and precision. They knew exactly what to do. I'd already boxed my essentials the night before. Everything else, the furniture, electronics, kitchenware, clothes, even the damn rug she loved, was fair game. They wrapped it, hauled it, and packed it with military efficiency. By 1:15 p.m. the house was empty. Completely, hauntingly empty. No sofa,
No TV, no dining table, no bed.
just dust outlines on the floor where a life used to be. I left one thing on the kitchen island. A sealed envelope with her name in bold. Inside, 2 letters, one from me and one from the attorney. I didn't leave a single photo, a spoon, or a curtain rod. No goodbye. No warning.
No trace. She came home around 2:30. I wasn't there. I was already driving to my mum's house, keys in my hand, truck full of only what I needed.
But I imagined her stepping through the front door, heels clicking against bare tile, eyes widening as she took it all in. The silence, the emptiness, the echo of her own breathing in a space that no longer belonged to her. That moment. I didn't need to witness it because for the first time in years, I felt peace. And she was about to feel everything she'd spent years avoiding. The letter was short, brutal, but calm.
No yelling, no accusations.
Just the kind of clarity that comes from surviving something you were never meant to survive. I know she read it more than once, probably out loud, trying to find a hidden loophole in the words. This is what it said. "You deleted my mother's voice."
Now I've erased your comfort. You told your friend you wanted to break me.
You nearly did. But I didn't fall apart, I just got quiet. And in that silence I saw you for who you really are. You made me believe love was conditional. That grief was weakness. That control was care. But you were wrong. This house, it's not yours.
It never was.
The money?
Not yours either. And now neither am I. I know you'll try to play the victim. You'll cry?
You'll tell people I blindsided you. But deep down, you know exactly what this is. You sowed silence. Now you get to live in it. Enjoy your echo. I imagined her hands trembling as she finished reading, the kind of rage that has nowhere to land because there's no one left to fight. She couldn't yell at me,
Couldn't guilt me.
couldn't twist my words. I left no fingerprints, just truth. I didn't need to hurt her the way she hurt me. I just needed her to know that I remembered everything she wanted me to forget. That she didn't win, and the silence she left me in, it became my weapon and her prison. She didn't go down quietly. A week after the move, I got a call from my lawyer. She'd filed a claim, said she had a right to the house since we were married, said she contributed to our shared life and deserved a portion of what was now mine. But the house had never been ours. It was deeded to me solely by my mother in a living trust she'd created before she passed. My wife's name wasn't on it.
Never had been.
The lawyer handling my mom's estate was airtight. The claim was denied without hesitation. That was her first blow. The second came when her friends started reaching out to me, screenshots of the messages she'd sent, the one about deleting my mom's voicemails, The one about waiting until he breaks, I hadn't even asked. But people talk. And once the truth leaked out, they didn't want to be complicit anymore. Her little curated image of the suffering,
abandoned wife shattered fast, and then one evening, I heard a knock. I opened the door, and there she was, makeup smeared, eyes red,
clutching some hoodie like it might protect her from what she'd done. "I didn't know it would go this far," she whispered.
"I just wanted us back. I made a mistake. Please."
"We can fix this." I looked at her for a long moment. There was a time, maybe even just a few months ago, when I would have cracked. When her tears would have pierced through my logic and found the boy inside me still searching for love in places that hurt. But not anymore. I didn't say a word. I just closed the door. No slam.
No drama. Just
the end. And on the other side of that door, I exhaled a breath I didn't know I'd been holding for years. Not out of spite, but peace. The day I moved into my mum's house, it was raining, not a storm, just that slow, steady kind of rain that feels more like cleansing than chaos. The driveway was slick. The porch still had her old wind chime hanging by the screen door.
I didn't take it down. The house was smaller than ours had been, older. The floors creaked.
The kitchen cabinet stuck, but it was mine. And more than that, it was hers. Every inch of it held her memory without trying to own it.
No demands, no conditions, just presence. I kept things simple. A mattress on the floor,
A coffee pot.
a reading chair by the window.
No TV for a while, just the kind of silence that doesn't feel lonely, only full. The first room I set up was the guest room. I turned it into a memory room. I printed every photo I could find of her. I framed pages from the journals she'd written during her chemo treatment, and in the corner I placed a small recorder. Not of her voice, because that was gone, but of mine. Every week, I sit in that room and record a message to her. Updates, dreams, grief, gratitude. I tell her things I wish I'd said, things I know she'd still want to hear.
I don't listen to them back.
They're not for me. They're for the bond. Because what I've learned is this. You can delete a message, but not a bond. You can erase a sound, but not a soul. I started therapy. I reconnected with friends I hadn't spoken to in years. I forgave myself for staying too long. And day by day,
I began to rebuild, not to prove anything,
just to exist fully again. And I think, wherever she is, she's proud of me.
of the man I became, of the silence I turned into strength.